Hello, hello, hello. I am the Linux Mensch. Sometimes the Linux has trouble, and lately I've had several things that have gone wrong, and today I'm going to talk about it and how I fixed it. So let's get to it. In early June, I did an update on my Arch Linux system, and after the fact, I went and opened up a virtual machine, and I use Virt Manager for my virtual machines, and Virt Manager works on top of QEMU. Anyways, I opened up a virtual machine and my virtual machine opened up fine and it was working, except it had no internet. So when I opened up the web browser, I couldn't surf the web and I couldn't do an update for the virtual machine in the terminal because it had access to no internet. And after some investigation, it turned out that libvirt just did an update and libvirt was no longer compatible with uncomplicated firewall. Now, the updated version of libvirt, so it's libvirt, libvirt. And not only does Virt Manager and QEMU rely on libvirt, but VirtualBox also uses libvirt libraries and files to function. So now I don't know if VirtualBox was affected because I don't have VirtualBox installed on my system, but I do know that VirtualBox also uses the libvirt libraries. So after some investigation, my solution was, I found two solutions. One was to turn off uncomplicated firewall. When I turned off uncomplicated firewall, my virtual machines had internet access. But I didn't like that solution. So the other solution is to keep uncomplicated firewall turned on the way I always do, and to downgrade to the previous version of libvirt. And when I did that, my virtual machines worked. And in early June, I made a video about it, and this is the video. VM's no internet. And that was the solution I proposed, was to downgrade to the previous version of libvirt. And that fixed it. Now, the other day I made this video, update Arch versus Debian versus Windows 10. And I just did a comparison on how long it would take to update those three systems after they had been off for 2 months. And I had two problems when I was making this video. Number one, when I was updating Debian, I got an error message, but I was still able to update my Debian system and reboot into it. And just the other day, I made this video, Debian fix update error, and I showed how I fixed that error. So like I said in this video, I had two errors. So I just showed you the video where I showed how I fixed the Debian error. And the Arch error, I didn't make a video on how I fixed the error in Arch, because in this video, I fixed the error right on camera while I was making the video. And that was right here. So when I was updating this Arch system that hadn't been updated for 2 months, and that was a real bare metal computer, it wasn't a virtual machine, I had programmed my Pacman configuration file to not update some packages, specifically Remmina, FreeRDP, and FreeRDP2. And when I went to do this update, I wasn't able to do the update because of dependencies. And you can see the error message right here. Now this one I fixed right on camera while I was making the video. And what I did was I went into my Pacman conf and I deleted FreeRDP and FreeRDP2 from being ignored as a package to be updated. And when I did that, it fixed the situation and I was able to update my system. Now the thing is that downgrading a package and telling pacman-conf to ignore updating the package is really a temporary solution because, like I said, down the road you can run into problems when updating the system because of dependencies, because you might have lots of files, apps, or files that help the computer to run that require the most updated version of that package to be in the system. And if you're on an old version of the package, it won't work. Now, another thing I have in my Pacman configuration file in the ignore is Remmina. And Remmina is an app that I use to do desktop remote into other Linux boxes. And I even use it to remote into my system at work, which is running Windows 10. And actually, it's a cloud system at work, and it's running Windows. And sometimes Remmina breaks. And sometimes the new version of Remmina won't allow me to log into the system at work. So right now, the only package I have on ignore update is Remmina, because the latest version of Remmina won't allow me to log into my cloud system at work in Windows 10. Now, the other thing is this. Let's go back to what I was talking about at the beginning. So LibraryVirt or libvirt got an update in early June or late May. Like I said, the new version was not functioning properly with uncomplicated firewall, but it would function properly with firewalled. Now, the thing is that I presume, and I could be wrong about this, but I presume that uncomplicated firewall is the most popular firewall system in Linux. And I presume a lot of people aren't using firewalled because it's harder to use. My two solutions was to turn off uncomplicated firewall or to downgrade to libvirt, which I did. I downgraded to libvirt, and my virtual machines have been fine. They've been functioning properly, and they've had internet access. But then I got thinking after making those other videos that what's going to happen one of these days, I'm going to update my Arch system, and my Arch system won't update with that old package of libvirt in the system. There'll be incompatibilities and I won't be able to update. Then what I'm going to do? I started doing some research, and this is what I found. I went to the Arch Linux website, and I clicked on Wiki, and I typed in libvirt, and I read this page. And I scanned down to here, and after reading this page, I went into my Pacman configuration file and deleted libvirt from the ignore list. And then I updated libvirt to the current package. Then I went into a virtual machine, opened up a virtual machine, and of course I had no internet in my virtual machine. Then I closed my virtual machine program, Virt Manager, and I went into etc libvirt network conf, and I added this line. And then I restarted LibraryVirt or libvirt, opened up a virtual machine, and I had internet access. And that's how I fixed it. So what I'm going to do is open up a terminal, make that a little larger, and I'm using ST, by the way. I'm going to type in etc libvirt. Then I'm going to ls it, and I went into this one here, network.conf. And of course, you have to go in with sudo. So sudo vim network.conf. Hit enter. Oh, I had to put my password in. And I went to the very bottom of the file. Let's just bring that up a bit. And I added this line. See line number 10? Firewall underscore backend space equals space quotation mark IP tables quotation mark. I saved the file. Let's just get out of there. I don't need to save it now. And then I did this command. Sudo system control restart libvirt service. libvirt service. And I hit enter. And that's it. And it fixed it. So now my libvirt is up to date, and my virtual machines have internet access. Now, if I cd out of there, let's just clear the screen. Let's just go back into etc. Let's do vim sudo, let's do vim pacman conf. So in line 25, I had ignore package Remmina, free RDP2, and libvirt. virt. So in the video the other day, I deleted FreeRDP and FreeRDP2, and it fixed updating my system for me. And like I said, I didn't need those two programs to be on Ignore. And today I took out libvirt out of here. So now I only have Remmina left. And the problem, like I said, with Remmina, if I update Remmina to the most current version, it won't connect when I'm trying to do desktop remote into my cloud system at work, which is running Windows 10. So I got that in there. But it's better not to have things in Ignore. Now, another situation that's happened recently is this. Well, before I show you that, let's just close this. Let's get out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a desktop remote into one of my other computers, a real bare metal computer that's running Arch Linux with the Gnome desktop. So let's remote into there because I want to show you another problem I've had. So I'm going to open up Remmina and I'm going to remote into this Dell 3. Let's connect to it. Okay, so now I've remoted into another bare metal computer that's actually right beside me. And the reason why I'm remoting into it is because I don't have my camera and microphone hooked up to that computer. So if I want to show you something in that computer, I have to remote into it. So GNOME desktop environment is fantastic in the sense where it has easy to use remote desktop environment. And I've done several videos on this particular topic this year. And the thing is that with remote desktop environment, it's as if you're sitting in front of the other computer. You have access to everything. You have access to the desktop, to the web browsers, to the file managers, to the terminal, well, to everything. It's fantastic. It's as if you're sitting in front of the computer. And GNOME makes it really easy to do. But on this particular computer that I've remoted into, I've been having a problem. So if you right click and go into settings, and if you happen to end up at the top, you're going to scan down to system. So we're going to go to system, and then you're going to go to remote desktop. And when you're in remote desktop, well, when you first install GNOME, these switches are going to be off. So you're going to turn these switches on. If the host name is not there, you're going to put the host name in. The port should be there automatically, but if it's not, put port 3389. And of course, your username should be there automatically. If it's not, put it there. And then you put a password in. Now I'm going to eye it. Now I have a fake password in here that I put in here just for the sake of the video. And my password is test. So now I'm going to close that or hide it. And what I'm going to do is, you know what? Let's just disconnect for a sec. Now on the guest machine, you can use GNOME connections or you can use Remmina to log in. And on the guest machine, you can be in any desktop environment or any window manager. Like in this guest machine right now, I'm in the awesome window manager. So you don't have to be in GNOME. Now, like I said, you can use GNOME connections, even though you're in a window manager or another desktop environment, or you can use Remmina, and I'm using Remmina. So if I open up Remmina and I edit, I have here Quick Connect, Dell 3. I have an IP address. Now this is just an internal IP address, and I have my password, test. So I can easily log into that other computer. And we see here, we have the password as test. Now, GNOME has a system where if I click on this button, it's going to generate a complicated password, a random password with symbols, small letters, capital letters, and not a word, and it won't be something that makes sense. Okay, but if you generate a password here, you have to put that at the other end, right? That password has to be in the guest machine, regardless of whether you're using Remmina or GNOME connections or some other app. That has to be in the guest machine. Now, this is the problem I'm having, is that when I log out of my user or when I reboot the system, it automatically deletes this password and auto-generates a long, complicated password, which I suppose is good for security. And that new password has to be in the guest machine as well. And if you didn't know what happened, you won't be able to log into the system. Or if you're trying to log in from another location, you won't be able to get into the system and you won't be able to fix it. You're going to have to go to the location where the computer is to fix it. So I don't know why it's happening. And now it's only happening on this computer. So I have 2 other Arch systems where it's not happening. So in my 2 other Arch systems, when I put my password in here, it stays in there. And when I log out or reboot, it's still there. And I also have a Debian system that's running Gnome. And then my Debian system is working as well. When I put the password in there, it stays there. It doesn't get replaced by a new complicated password when I reboot into the system. So I have 2 Arch systems and a Debian system where it's working fine. But in this particular computer, when I reboot, when I log out and log back in, and especially when I reboot, it replaces my password with a new complicated password, and then I have to put that password into the guest machine. And I don't know why. Let's just close this. So you know what? I thought this computer, I'm not using it for my production. It's a spare computer. So I thought, let's wipe it out. Let's do a fresh install of Arch Linux and a fresh install of Gnome. So I did that. I did a fresh install of Arch Linux the manual way, and I encrypted it. And by the way, if you want to know how to install Arch the manual way with encryption, I have quite a few videos on it. So anyways, I'm going off track. So I did a fresh install of Arch Linux the manual way with encryption. I reinstalled Gnome and my favorite apps, and it's still not working. I put the password in, but when I reboot, it deletes the password and puts a new complicated password in. And I don't know why. And I spent hours trying to fix it. I spent probably at least a full day, an evening, and half a day. So maybe I spent a full day trying to fix it. I couldn't fix it. And I did a lot of research on the internet, and a lot of people have had the same problem going back to 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. People having the same thing. They're saying when they reboot, their password gets replaced with a new complicated password. And then they have to put the password into the guest machine. And if they're trying to log in from a remote location, they're stuck. They can't get into the computer. Now, I don't know why. I spent lots of time trying to fix it. And my other 3 computers that are running Gnome don't do that. They remember my password. When I reboot or when I power down and power up, they remember my password. So I don't know what to say. This one, I haven't found a fix for it yet because it's only happening in one computer. So if you have any solutions, let me know in the comments. And that's it. In this video, I talked about several problems I've had with Linux and how I fixed them. And I even talked about one problem I don't know how to fix. I talked about how I had trouble updating an Arch Linux system because I had some packages on ignore and there was dependency issues and I had to delete some packages from ignore. I talked about how I'm on an old version of Remmina because the new version won't allow me to log into my cloud system at work, my Windows 10 cloud system at work. I talked about how I had trouble updating a Debian system and how I fixed that. And I talked about Virt Manager and how an updated version of Virt Manager wouldn't let my virtual machines have internet access. And I talked about how I did a temporary solution and made a video about it a month ago. And then I showed how today I found a better solution to it. And I talked about a problem I'm having with a GNOME password situation and only on one computer. The problem isn't on my other computers, and how it's working on my other 2 Arch systems and it's working on my Debian system, but it's not working on one particular Arch system, even though I did a fresh install. So if you have any solutions for me, please let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I am the Linux Bench.